Bob, what I really would like for you to do is to tell us your story, because there's a lot of people who, especially those of us who are from Chicago, who've probably heard the name Bob Love, and they probably know that you're associated with the Bulls, but they don't really know, the story, not only that leads up to being Bob Love, but to also, the story behind it, about the person, who is Bob Love, not the icon who is Bob Love. So maybe you could start when you were, a kid. Tell us about where you grew up and what that was like.
All right, then thank you. I've always wanted to tell the story. I always wanted to talk about my career and how I grew up and what all I had to overcome as a young kid, all the way through grade school, high school, and college and stuff. I grew up in a small town in Louisiana called Bastrop. It's located in the northern part of the state that's about 18 miles from the Arkansas border. We basically made our living by picking cotton, chopping cotton, picking strawberries, potatoes, string beans, and baling hay, and odd jobs and things like that. Didn't have any money. We didn't have any money, but our parents and our grandparents showed us a lot of love when we were coming up. And every Sunday morning, you had to get out of bed and go to church. you had to go to Sunday school, Monday morning service, afternoon service, and at night you had to go back to church. But I was the last person in my family to be born on a plantation. My mother had me when she was about 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
I was born on the O'Neill plantation in Delhi, Louisiana. And 3 weeks after my mother had me, the owner of the plantation wanted my mother to go back in the cotton fields there and work. And my grandmother said, no, I'm not going to allow my daughter to go back out there because she just had a baby. And the owner of the plantation said, well, you got to get off the plantation. And the next morning, my grandfather, just like you see in the movie, my grandfather hitched up a mule and a wagon, put all us on the wagon. We had the beds and the mattress and all the little clothes. But we went to another plantation there. We stayed there. Then we finally moved up to the town that I grew up in, Bastrop. I was basically raised up by my grandmother, like I said, with 14 other kids. Didn't have a lot of food, and when the dinner bell rung, boy, you better be ready, because if you wasn't there, man, it was all gone when you got home. So I was always around for the dinner bell, boy, and then I could hear my grandmother calling me, Robert, it's time to eat, son. It's time to eat. Boy, no matter where I was, man, and I would sprint home. Boy, that's why I could run so fast. Man, I would run home, and I would slide in the door, just in time to get the last plate. All of my friends in high school, they laughed at me, because I stuttered so bad. So, but I made up in my mind at a young age that if I couldn't talk off the sports field or on the sports field, I was going to do my talking. I was going to do my talking on the court, or on the football field. So I played football, baseball, and basketball. And all through high school, I never had a girlfriend. All my friends ever laughed at me. Bob Love doesn't have a girlfriend. But they didn't know. Every afternoon I went home. There she was, laying under my grandmother's house there. She was round, firm, and fully packed. Boy, I could bounce her, man. I could throw up against the wall. I could shoot her, man. And she never talked back to me. Basketball, baseball, and football all day long, all by myself. While my other friends went out with their girlfriends, man, and I had a great time. But I had a great time too, playing sports. And I would get so carried away a lot of times out there on the basketball court. It would be dark, and I couldn't see the goal, man, but I could always hear the ball bouncing off the rim. Oh man, I would get out there, but I would just shoot, shoot, shoot. And then all of a sudden, I got good. I got good, and everybody wondered why. A lot of guys that were better than me, but 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 they didn't have the work ethic that I had. So, you know, I outworked them and everything, outran them and everything. You know, and all of a sudden I became good, and I knew at a very early age that that if I didn't win a scholarship to college in sports, you know, I wasn't going to be able to go to college. All through college, I only went back home twice. I only went back to my hometown twice because I loved school so much, man. I had the greatest time of my life in college, greatest time of my life, and I wanted to succeed. And I was always afraid. I was always afraid a guy was going to come along, and take my scholarship. Mm-hmm. So every break I got, and I was on the basketball court, dribbling the basketball, and I was running, and I was running up the stairs, down the stairs, and I was doing something athletically. You know, it paid off. I didn't know what I was doing, but it paid off. And all of a sudden, in the fourth quarters of those games I played, oh man, it seemed like I was just starting. Everybody else got tired, man, the tongue hanging out, but not me.
Tell us how you've gone through your the high school and college career. Tell us what happened when you got drafted, when you got to the NBA, because I know you made a couple stops before you came here to Chicago.
Yes. Well, graduated from college. I went to college. I won a scholarship to college my last year, 1961. During the time I was in college, I was a three-time All-American. Tried for the United States Olympic team. I played against the Russian national team. And I was also lucky enough to get a degree in foods and nutrition because actually I went to college, you know, to get my education. Sports and the NBA wasn't really big at that time. When I graduated from Southern University in 1965, it was only 9 teams in the entire NBA. On the 9 teams, and each of those 9 teams would have a draft, and boy, they would draft about 100 players from all over the country. Just the same number of guys that were getting out, but they would have a lot of rounds. And what they would do, they would bring you to training camp, and they would divide you up into teams of 8 guys. And if your team lost, they never saw you play again, no matter how good you were. And I just happened to get lucky. Team won the trials there and stuff. But I had one thing going against me. Only 2 black players could make the team. Could make the team. So as a result, I had to play in the Eastern League my first year. I was drafted by Cincinnati. I had to play in the Eastern League. There I played with a team called Trenton, the Trenton Colonians, and I was voted the Rookie of the Year. I averaged about 25 points a game and 19 rebounds. And I came back the next year to Cincinnati, and I made the team. The following year, in 1968, the Cincinnati Royals, they cut me because the general manager of the team said I stuttered too bad, so I couldn't talk. Said, Bob Love, we like your son, but you can't talk, and you never been used to it. So, but really hurt my feelings. I said, sir, can you please try to trade me to someone? He said, well, Bob, maybe there's one team that might want you. I'm going to call the Chicago Bulls in the morning for you. Well, one day later, I was traded to the Chicago Bulls in 1968. And let me tell you, life has never been the same because the rest is history. Because I'm the guy that set all the records for the Chicago Bulls: most points, most free throws made, most shots taken, most shots made, and I became only one of 8 professional players in the entire history of the NBA to ever lead his team in scoring for 7 straight years. I'm really proud of that. Really proud of that record. The following year, we played the Milwaukee Bucks. Played them in a game, and I looked out there. I was out there warming up for the Bulls, and I looked on the side there, and I saw the general manager of the team sitting over there. I went over and shook his hand. I said, "Sir, how you doing?" He said, "Bob, I'm doing fine. You're doing well, Bob." I said, "Sir, I want to thank you because you know what? I said, I'm still trying to find a guy who can talk that ball into the basket. I still haven't found that guy yet, but I'm looking for it. Every bad thing or good thing happens in your life. It happens for a reason. And I wasn't supposed to play for Cincinnati. I wasn't supposed to play for Milwaukee, New York. I was born to be a Chicago Bull.
I'm an avid basketball fan. I was following the Bulls when you were here. I remember Chet Walker and Jerry Sloan and Bobby Weiss and Tom Borwinkle, all those guys, okay? So, and I wasn't aware of, the backstory, the stuttering problem, how it never occurred to me that you weren't talking to the press. But maybe you could share a little bit about how, how you guys did that, to a certain extent, like kind of how you covered, how did you play that, so to speak?
Well, I was lucky enough to have some really, really great teammates. Norm Van Leer, Jerry Sloan, Borwinkle, Chet Walker. All those guys, they would always cover for me. I must have played over 800 games total, exhibition and all that stuff. And in 95% of those games, I was either the leading scorer, the leading rebounder, or the leading assist guy. But not one single time was I ever voted the star of the game. I was never interviewed on radio or TV. I received no speaking engagement, no endorsement, nothing off the basketball court because I couldn't talk. But it only made me stronger. It only made me try harder. A lot of times, the reporters would come up to me, and I understood they were on the deadline, and they didn't have time to sit there and listen to me stammer and struggle through words. So Norm Van Leer would always holler, "Hey, I'll take that question for Bob. Yeah, Bob did this, and Borwinkle do the same thing. Chet Walker and Sloan. So all those guys have really, really covered for me. So it made my life a lot easier off the basketball court when the game was over. So I didn't have to worry about the microphone in my face, the TV camera in my face, and stuff. And that took a lot of pressure off me.
I would love to hear how you felt. I mean, what it meant to you when they retired your number. Because for the people who are watching this who aren't necessarily fans, they may not realize what a big deal that is to have your number retired by a team. But tell us what it felt like that night for you.
Oh boy. Well, I never really expected that to happen, because when I played, I really didn't realize how good I was. I just wanted to be a guy who could shoot the ball and loved the little kids and loved the fans. Every time someone wanted an autograph, I was always the guy to sign the first autograph. I love doing that. I love doing that stuff. They retired my jersey. Oh man, I looked up there and saw all kind of flashbacks. Some of my college days, or some of my rookie season, or second season, saw the time I came here in Chicago. When I was in college, they proclaimed me, not many people know this, they proclaimed me the greatest player to ever come out of the HBC, the historical black colleges. Now that includes Willis Reed, Earl the Pearl Monroe, Dick Barnett, and a few other guys. None of those guys ever led their team in scoring for 7 straight years. I was all pro offense. I'm only one of 2 players in the entire history of the NBA to ever have 9 straight 40-point games. And in one stretch of my career, 24 consecutive games, I averaged 34 points a game for 24 consecutive games. That's in the books. They can mention it or they can't, but it's part of it.
It doesn't change it. It's still there. Exactly.
It's history. I grew up knowing that everything that I got in life, I had to earn it. I never expected anyone to give me anything out of life. Anything in life. All I wanted was an opportunity. When I retired, like you said, despite the fact that I was a great player, I couldn't talk. Despite the fact that I had a degree in foods and nutrition, no one would give me an opportunity because I couldn't talk. And as a result, I had to take a lot of dead-end jobs. I was a busboy, dishwasher. Finally, one year, I went to a company called Nordstrom's in downtown Seattle, Washington, and I asked them for a job. And walked into the store there. I filled out the application, and the owner of the store told me, said, "Bob, we'll give you a job, son, but you got to start off at the bottom." And starting off at the bottom for me, believe it or not, was washing dishes and bussing tables for $4.45 an hour. A lot of times I would be in the restaurant there bussing the tables and wiping the tables and the dishes, and a lot of parents would bring their kids in. A lot of players and ex-players would come in, boy, they would look at me. They would always do a double take. Wow, man, that's Bob Love, man. That guy was a great player, man. But look at him now, bussing tables and washing dishes. What a shame. What a shame. Well, I took all those stares and all of those, all those comments, took that as a motivation tool. I became the best busboy, the best dishwasher in the world, because I was going to let what anybody said or thought keep me from reaching my goals. I worked that job as a busboy and a dishwasher for 6 straight months. I didn't take one single day off. Every time someone wanted a day off, hey, I was the first person in line. Hey, I'll sub for that guy. I'll take his place. I'll work his hours. Finally, the owners said, "This guy used to play basketball, but look at him. He's taking his job with pride. He's doing his job with pride. He's not trying to hide. He's not trying to hide. He's not trying to hide behind the counters or act like he don't want it. He don't want the job." And they came up to me. They said, "Bob," said, "we're proud of you, son. Said, we really want to help you. But first, you got to do something about your speech problem. But if you go out and find a person to help you with your speech problem, we'll pay for it." And when they told me that, I felt like the weight of the world dropped off my shoulders. Because for the first time in my life, I felt that someone cared about me as a person. I began therapy some years ago, and progress in the company, I became one of the top people in that restaurant division. I was the corporate spokesperson for the entire company of Nordstrom. They have over 100 stores all over the country. I was the first black person to ever travel for that company, and I set up managerial program for minorities. I did the whole shebang. But that never would have happened though had I played the victim. Had I expected someone to feel sorry for me. They had a big article in the Seattle newspaper for some reason. They had a big article. Bob Love can finally talk. Bob Love speaks. But the Chicago Bulls heard about it. Steve Shanwell read it in the paper. That was in 1992, and they were being inundated with a request for people to come out and talk. People to come out and talk, and they didn't have anyone to do that. And it's all about timing. It's all about timing. 1992, and they invited me back here to speak at a luncheon. It was about 400 businessmen at that luncheon. That was my first speech in Chicago in my entire life. I planned and living here, doing all that stuff. And I looked out there and I saw these people, but I got up there, I struggled through the thing, but I did well. It touched me so I cried. I couldn't help it. I looked in the audience there. Everybody cried. Steve Shanwell cried. Everybody from the Bulls office was there. They cried. Whatever. They were so happy for me. I was happy. I found out that out of all of the handicaps that a person can have, they can be in a wheelchair, they can be crippled, they can be on crutches. The inability to verbally communicate the English language is one of the most devastating things that can happen to you, because people think that you're not smart, something's wrong. But as I look over history, some of the most brilliant people in the world was stutterers. Marilyn Monroe, Winston Churchill, Jesse Jackson, a lot of people, a lot of people. All these people were brilliant people, and I put myself right in that category now because as I go around the country now, my passion is to get up there and let everybody hear what I gotta say. I gotta say, and I've been traded for my life, anything in the world.